Pranamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhusya Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Amadeva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Gurudeva Deva. Ennachu? Okay, we are discussing the self-realization, and now we are discussing how jiva comes into picture. So, what was there before creation was pure existent consciousness, which is limitless, which is Brahman. And Brahman, nothing can come out of Brahman, because Brahman has to undergo modification if something has to be created. So from the absolute point, there cannot be any creation. So it is one without a second, and no words can reach there, nothing can reach there, neither the mind can reach there. There is no ignorance nor knowledge from Brahman point. You have to be careful. We'll analyze this a little bit later, where is the ignorance and so on and so forth. But from the Brahman point, from the reference of the Brahman, so we are talking about what reference state? That's called Paramarthika Satyam, the absolute reality. And from that reference, there is nothing other than Brahman. Ekameva Advitiyam, one without a second. Then it appears to become many when we are talking about transactional reality, where I have to transact. This is called a Vyavaharika Satyam. Vyavaharika Satyam is transactional reality, where for transactional reality, gold became into many ornaments, a ring and a bangle and a necklace. So they are real enough in the transactional world. Ring is real and different from the gold. And what power that made into, that is the Maya. Maya means the desire of all the people that they want this kind of form, that a desire prompted is the creation for it, because they have vasanas for that, for wearing that kind of rings. So that is what is essentially Maya, is a cause for it. Now the products are nothing but the Brahman himself or itself into many. We went through so many. So the product should have something that is belonging to the gold, belong to the original. Just as the ring has something from the gold, so by gold it came, by gold it is sustained. So it's sustained means supported. So I cannot remove the gold and leave you the ring. So what is that which sustains the whole universe? And he is the sustainer, controller. All these words that we use in all religions is essentially he himself became many. So the whole universe is nothing but Brahman. And we can call it for transactional purposes same as Ishvara. So someone asked me, have you seen Ishvara? Have you seen God? Say, you cannot but see God. Because whatever is you see is nothing but God only according to the scriptures. Because if God is some form, then there cannot be God. So every form is itself is nothing but God only. Because just as every gold ornament is nothing but a gold only. If I am seeing ring, I don't see gold. Then look again. Whatever you see as an ornament is nothing but gold. Same way, whatever I see in the creation is nothing but the Lord himself in different names and forms. That becomes a knowledge. Taking only ring as a ring and a bangle as a bangle and a necklace as a necklace, I am only giving importance to the forms and colors and shapes, attributive content of each one. I am giving more importance to it rather than the substantive. Follow now? If I am giving more importance to the ring, I don't like this ring, I like this bangle and so on. I am giving likes and dislikes to the form, not for the gold. If the gold exists in that form, I am liking it. So it's not that I don't dislike gold, I am only disliking particular names and forms. I don't like him, I don't like her, I don't like this fellow, I don't like this food, I don't like. Our likes and dislikes are only for the forms and the names. That's why the scripture talks about whole creation is nothing but names and forms. And that's why the even gold ring and a bangle, it's called only vacharambanam vikaraha. Vikara means modification, only vak arambanam, only speech, that means namesake. There is no real transformation, but it's only namesake transformation of gold becoming into ring and a bangle and a necklace. From the ring point it is real, from the gold point the transformation is not real. So we are now talking about the reference state. From the ring point, ring is real and different from a bangle. Its attributes of the ring are different from attributes of the bangle. From the gold point, the ring and the bangle and the necklace are same. When I equate ring is nothing but a gold, bangle is nothing but a gold, I am equating only from the essence point. So ring is different from a bangle, utility of the ring, the contributes of the ring, and its date of birth, its date of expiry, all those things differ from one object to the other object. But those attributes belong to the superimposed forms. Forms include all attributes for which I am giving name because of, for the utility, for purpose. What is the purpose of ring? I have to wear it. Decorate myself. So that's the purpose. So the creation is purposeful only from the point of each created entity. From the absolute point from which it came, by which it is sustained, into which it goes back, it is just only apparent creation and there is no real creation. They all we analyze now. Now the question comes, sir, you said consciousness is infinite. Existence I accept, but consciousness is also infinite. If consciousness is infinite, and if it becomes many, then every object that I see should have just as existence conscious entity. But I don't see. How come? Your theory seems to be problem. So therefore, different acharyas have interpreted the consciousness is separate from the existence. So what was there is only pure existence which is infinite, but it has a conscious existence and unconscious existence within the total. That's how the Bhagavan Ramananda interprets. Madhvacharya interprets completely different. He doesn't become many because he is not a material cause for him. So it goes completely against the scriptural statement. So what happened to the consciousness? And I don't see consciousness, and I see only everything is inert only, the world is inert because everything is object. If that question is posed, then we have to understand that reflection theory. What is reflection theory? And this is how we should understand also who is a jeeva and what is other jeeva and who is ignorant. All these things should become clear before we understand self-realization. That's why we are going exhaustive details of step by step, slowly taking who is a jiva, what is the world, what is that, and what is that I have to realize and who has to realize what. All that we questions in the first talk itself are to be analyzed systematically, self-consistently also. And we are now familiar in this modern age that we know that white light consists of 7 colors. I'm giving an example now. White light has Vibgayar or Vijayar. So violet, starting with violet and ending up with red. As the wavelength increases, all 7 colors together form the white color. This we study in our science. So you remember when our example of pitch dark room, when it is too dark, I cannot see anything. I need a light to show. So light is that which reveals the object. That much we understand. Now I want to know what is this world and why consciousness is not, I cannot see. And to explain that, I am taking an example of the white light. And now when I ask the question, the same white light is falling on this object, and that object. But this object looks red, the other object looks blue, and third object looks yellow. Why is that? Oh, that is because it's red. But what does red color means? In that pitch dark room, I don't see it red, or I don't see other object color, different colors. I see only dark. I don't see anything at all. In fact, I don't see any object. Only when the light comes I can see, same light is falling on it for me to see, but I'm seeing different colors. And some objects are very dull, and there are mirrors there which is reflecting all the light that is falling. Oh, that's the nature of the mirror. Yes, but also analyze that if you look at the theory of colors, those who are familiar, it's okay. If not familiar, this is what they think. Why an object looks red, or why another object looks blue, and the other one is violet. Why? Because its structure is such that the product, the material that it came from, the structure is such that it absorbs all other colors except red. Therefore, it looks red. So even though the white light is falling on it, all other colors of the white get absorbed, only reflecting that which is not absorbed, and that is a red color. Therefore, this object looks red. The other object looks blue only because it is absorbing all other colors except blue color. A third one is looking violet because it's absorbing all other colors except violet. So every object is different or looks different only because of its reflecting capacity. Follow now? This red object is only reflecting red light. The blue object reflecting only blue light. All other colors are absorbed. And third is looking yellow only because it's reflecting yellow, even though only white light is falling. If you want to experiment, if you send only yellow monochromatic light, that means yellow light alone without any mixture of all other light, you can filter all other light and send only yellow light. If that yellow light falls on the red object, how does the red object will look like? Can you guess? It looks black because it absorbs the yellow light. It can only reflect the red light, and there is no red light there. Same way, if I put a red light on top of a blue object, that looks dark. So it absorbs. If all colors are absorbed, nothing is to reflect, then it looks dark, black. Black is called absorb. All absorbs. All colors are absorbed. It looks white if no color is absorbed. Follow now all the colors, how the colors are. Now what has that to do with the consciousness? That's why light and consciousness are related. Because of this analogy, we'll see a lot more analogy later. So when the pure consciousness, which is of the nature of Sat Chit Ananda, we are talking about Sat Chit Ananda like a Vibgayar. This is an example. Don't think that it has parts like that. It is an example here to understand the problem. So if pure consciousness, if pure Brahman is of the nature of Satchidananda, and when it falls on an object, the object reflects depending upon the reflecting medium. Just as the white light is falling on the red object, and the medium is a red object that absorbs all other colors except red. It's a property of the medium, nothing to do with the white light. Same white light is falling on the red object as well as the blue object. So same Satchidananda Brahman, as though, quote unquote, because we are now talking about in the transactional world, not at the paramarthika level, but at a vyavaharika level, where pure consciousness as though falling on the object, and when it reflects depending on the reflecting medium, and depending upon that either Sat is absorbed or Sat Chit are absorbed, or reflected. Sat is reflected, or Sat Chit, both are reflected, or Sat Chit Ananda are reflected. So reflecting media are different. So what has that to do with that? Now, for the inert objects, if you take this object is inert, there is no consciousness. Why? Even though pure Brahman, which is all pervading, is of the nature of pure consciousness, everything else, but the medium that it is getting reflected is medium can only reflect the Sat part and not the Chit and Ananda. So therefore only existence is manifested in all inert objects. The object is inert only because it can only reflect the Sat part and not the Chit and Ananda. Clear now why I don't see consciousness exhibited in all that, even though consciousness is infinite. It is of the nature of consciousness, existence and Ananda also. But what is reflected? Only existent part of it is being reflected. Then which one reflects the consciousness? For that you need a subtle material. That's why we discuss the subtle material, and the mind and intellect are subtle materials, and all are called subtle body. In Vedanta it is called mind, intellect, chitta, memory, and the ego, ahankara. All are thought type of things. They are all subtle material, and subtle material alone can reflect both existence and consciousness. So therefore, wherever there is a subtle material, it has a capacity to reflect both existent and consciousness, and therefore they appear as though they are conscious entities, as though. Consciousness is not only coming from the original Brahman only. What about Ananda? For Ananda is not reflected normally, but for Ananda also to be reflected by the subtle body, the mind has to be calm and quiet and serene. Then not only the Sat, not only the Chit, and Ananda also gets reflected. So it's a reflected happiness only. So whenever I fulfill my desire, I am happy. In those moments, my mind is calm and serene, unagitated, and therefore I am happy. Reflection happiness. It's not a swarupam, it's not intrinsic nature, it's only reflection. So reflection of what? Ananda. The intensity of reflection of Ananda depends upon how deep my agitations are and how quiet now when the desire is fulfilled. Follow? So whenever the desire is fulfilled, whenever I have longing desire and that satisfied, then momentarily, until another desire comes in, momentarily I am happy by reflection of both Sat, Chit, Ananda. Because I exist and I am conscious and conscious of the happiness that I am. So all three aspects are reflected. Again, agitation, when another desire comes, I am agitated, I want this, all that goes on. Therefore, I am only rarely happy, but most of the time I am agitated and therefore suffering. You follow now? And in case, just quote unquote, in case, if I am having a quiet mind, unperturbed mind, a peaceful mind, without having any desires at all, then my mind can reflect the intense happiness all the time. The longer time I am in that state, the beautiful reflected happiness that I will have. Remember, it's reflected. So, I can get two ways happiness. Remember, one is fulfilling desire, but that's momentarily. And the problem is, by fulfilling desire, I am pouring pouring ghee into the fire. It becomes more desire, more agitations and all that. Or I can get the same state of mind by having a contented mind, no more longing mind, no more wanting mind. That mind, if it is all the time, then I get complete reflection of pure Ananda, that what I am. Therefore, one who is happy in two ways. One is going after objects, which is a wrong way of doing it. Also, by quietening the mind free from desires. That's how Krishna defines as a sthita prajnaha. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmani eva atmana tushtaha. Is tushtaham. He is satisfied with by himself as himself. That means no more longing for this, and therefore no more agitations. Therefore mind is calm and serene, reflecting pure consciousness all the time. So it is a reflected existence, reflected existent unconsciousness, and reflected existent consciousness and Ananda also. So subtle body has the capacity to reflect consciousness, and depending upon the purity of the subtle body, so even though subtle body can reflect, the reflection again depends on the degree of the purity of the subtle body. If the subtle body is agitated, then the reflection of the consciousness is also agitated, perturbed, always worried about something, anxiety, all that comes because of the mind is always perturbed. Therefore, reflection of the consciousness or Ananda is also getting perturbed. So, quieter the mind, calmer the mind, greater will be the happiness that mind will feel by reflection of the consciousness and Ananda also. So, some people look very bright, some people look very dull, and all that. If you look at the gradations of the intelligence also, is because of how their mind is calm and quiet, serene, and able to concentrate. Why? When you are concentrating, it is called ekagrata. Ekagrata means single pointed, then the mind becomes calm and quiet in that channel. Therefore it becomes intelligent also. Absorbs quickly. Whereas the mind is completely agitated, running all over here, there, when the teaching is going on, he cannot absorb it. You say he is a dull person, perturbed person. Why? Mind is not serene and how can it become? By training also one can do it. So therefore one has to do training, or through the process of yoga one can make it mind purified. And that's what is the Bhagavad Gita is. It's called Yoga Shastra. Yoga Shastra is what? It's not for realization, not for anything. It is for purification of the mind. And once the mind is purified, then one can see what is that because of which mind is able to be active. So only after mind is purified, then for that mind, then Krishna says, what is that Brahman? He says, Yan manasa na manute e nahur manomatam tadeva brahma tvam viddhi nedam yadidam upasate. That which mind cannot think of. So I cannot think of what is that state of Brahman. Why? No thought can go, no mind can go. He says, na vak gacchati na manaha. Neither mind can go, nor the speech can go. Then what is that then? How am I going to do? Say, yan manasa na manute, that which mind cannot think, yenahur manomatam, that because of which mind has the capacity to think. That alone is Brahman. So what makes the mind think is being pointed out. So now we have explained how the Brahman, pure consciousness, Satchidananda Swarupam, appears to be many, depending upon the total vasana of all people together, put together, creating the gross world and the subtle world. And the subtle world has the capacity to reflect both the existence and consciousness, whereas the gross world can only reflect the existent part. So the whole lokas worlds, the 14 lokas, all the matter is only reflecting the existent part, but no capacity to reflect the conscious part. Mind, subtle material is required, which cannot be analyzed using a gross material. So therefore, a scientist cannot understand, analyze the mind. He will only deduce based on the answer some people give. Oh, his mind is agitated, this is that, and he can have a theories about the other people's mind. But this is all evaluation and deduction and inferences based on, because his gross tools, I cannot measure it. I can say at the most I can put electrodes and say, these are alpha waves or beta waves are coming at the most, or by looking at the brain I can say these are neurons are going. Those are all gross charged material. But that's not subtle. So therefore, I do not have the tools to analyze neither the mind nor the thought. Clear? At the same time, we know we are thinking. So we know we have a mind. A fellow without a mind, he says, what happened to your mind? So I have to have a mind for the feelings, and the life itself is expression of the mind itself. So wherever there is a mind, the consciousness also gets reflected, so he acts like a conscious entity because of a reflection. Follow now? Now we are coming back. Who is a jeeva now? I'm not forgetting that is our goal. Who is a jeeva? Now, who is a jeeva is essentially who has to have a gross body that accommodates the subtle body. So gross body and subtle body together, so I have gross body matter and also I have subtle body, which is the mind. Brain is not subtle, brain is still form of a gross body. So death is nothing but separation of the subtle body from the gross body, that's all. So subtle body is the real life, because life is nothing but expression of consciousness. So when you say what is life, a scientist doesn't know what life is, other than he knows that whether somebody is alive or not. He can say because he is not the life expressions, the physiological functions, as long as they are occurring, we say he is alive. But what exactly life? He is no more alive because it's only matter there now, that whatever activates that matter is no more there. What happened? It left. We call it Mar Gaya. Gaya means it's gone. He left somewhere else. So what is that leaves which I don't see it? It is the subtle body that leaves the gross body. Where does it go? It looks for another gross body for it to experience next set of vasanas. That's why transmigration of soul we call it. But what soul is nothing but normal vocabulary is nothing but the subtle body traveling from one place to other place to other place, where searching for a appropriate gross body needed to exhaust the next set of vasanas. And that is essentially going from one loka to other loka. Now we will go into more and more now what exactly the nature of a jiva now, using this reflection theory, because pure Brahman does not become anything. Now it's only reflected consciousness, reflected existence, and reflected ananda, which is called Chidabhasa in Sanskrit, called reflected consciousness. We will analyze now more in terms of what exactly the structure of jiva is. With this we stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.